again, guys, this is the thing that I very, very much struggle with when and it's not just this chat. I see this all over Facebook, all over Twitter, that as soon as things go wrong, the I think the automatic or the natural reaction is that a coach needs to be fired. Things things just go wrong. Sometimes you can do everything that you need to do. You can say everything that you need to say. You can prepare these kids as much as you can possibly prepare them in the time that you have. They just don't do what they need to do on the field 100% of the time, whether that's lack of ability, lack of effort, lack of focus and concentration. It just doesn't always happen, right? So I very much struggle, particularly at first year staff. I very much struggle with the inclination that coaches, and yes, I get it. You can fire coaches, you can't necessarily fire players. Well, you can this day and age. The transfer portal is the way that players get fired, right? And this happens all over the place, and this will happen this year with Oklahoma. There's going to be guys at the end of the season that the coaching staff, Brent Venables individually, they'll meet as a team and they'll say, we've they'll tell these kids, hey, basically in no uncertain words, um, I think from a future perspective, your best bet is to go look elsewhere because you're not at the level that we need you to be, um, defensively, or offensively, whatever the case may be, whoever the kid is. So I think one thing that's going to be interesting really here is, and I think maybe even more interesting because you know, quite frankly, Oklahoma doesn't have a ton to play for right now, a other than a bowl bid, and I think there's a lot of people that probably don't really care that much about that. Now, I think it's good for the players and good for the coaching staff um, just because they need those extra practices with some of those young kids and just getting them the opportunity to play in the bowl game after a season of really kind of disappointment in terms of not meeting those expectations that you have at the University of Oklahoma, and not meeting those, and not being at the not playing at the level that you really need to play at, if you're Oklahoma. So again, that will be something that's um, very, I think, crucial when you look at how this recruiting class ends up. What does the transfer portal look like? Because again, I think I think coaches anytime they come in, um, I think when you come in to a season, you kind of look and see what's that, especially as a first year coach, what's that 2-3 year plan look like? Because typically it takes coaches. Some situations are different than others. When Riley came in, he was set up very, very well for success. Venables, not quite as much, in terms of the guys that transferred to USC, and things like that. So there was a little bit of probably a change in terms of what that looked like. I think me, just kind of on the outside looking in, I thought this team had a chance to contend for a Big 12 title, and that was the extent of what they would be, um, essentially what they would be able to do. I did not think that this team had the ability to make the playoffs, but could contend for a Big 12. So obviously they're nowhere close to that. So I think from an expectation perspective, the 3 year plan has probably been moved to four. To 4 years, in terms of, I think next year is the year that you would consider a successful season if you're Oklahoma and you're contending for a Big 12 title next year, given that this team could finish anywhere from 5-7 to 7-5.